Hey guys, King of Charmanders here. Today I'll be your judge, your jury, and your analyst. Today you all wanted Bugs Bunny because you want to know why Space Jam is coming out in next week. It's like one of the greatest movies of all time. You know, Michael Jordan, like a great movie. Most of you probably don't watch basketball, but if you are into athletic sports and you are into iconic movies or old school pop culture, I definitely recommend you check out Space Jam 2 in theaters next week. This is not a paid programming. I just like sports. Anyways, as I always say, this is the top 5 Diggersby teams for the Great League Remix. And as I always say, please consider contributing to ppoke.com. So since a lot of you really like Bugs Bunny or really Hairy Bunny, depending on how you look at it or how you display it, you know, bunny lives matter because bunnies are, well, actually I don't know. Bunnies, yeah, it's, well, Diggersby, it's technically, I don't know, do you think Bunny, let me know, do you think Diggersby is a bunny or a rabbit? I think more of a rabbit. Anyways, Diggersby, as you see here, is an incredibly powerful mon, actually being the most powerful mon statistically overall in the Great League Remix. And even though it may be the target of some and a lot of anti-meta mons or cores, it is still a beast and can still get you win cons if played properly. And since so many of you want to use this because you're thinking about using it or you already have one built, these are my top 5 teams for Diggersby in the Great League Remix. Anyways, let's get started. Alright, so our first team here, I'm going to give you something extremely generic. This is actually a team that, well, you'd actually just use like G-Fisk in the back, but this is a pretty standard team. Diggersby, Sableye, Say-Switch, Registeel, Closer. Now, this team's excessively bulky, which is why, as you see here, great coverage, however, amazing bulk, amazing safety, great consistency. Even though Sableye is can be targeted by like Charmers / Mandibuzz, Sableye is still a beast in this cup and still played well. You can still, return your way and return and take back switch. So there's still ways you can win with Sableye, especially if your opponent tries to use like something like Jellicent Say Switch. Sableye is an incredibly powerful Say Switch against a lot of combinations. As you see here, against a lot of meta picks, the reason why I picked this one is because Sableye and Registeel are very popular and very powerful in Open Great League, and they still are in the Great League Remix. As you see here, this team is excessively powerful. This team was actually minus Diggersby because a lot less things were banned. Sableye and Registeel were still really strong for the Great League Remix before, and they're still incredibly powerful now, even when you throw Diggersby in front. Now, the one thing you might want to be careful for, and I kind of don't know why, is Rainy Castform. You're going to have to Say Switch into Sableye, and then Registeel comes out. However, it's not necessarily bad because Flash Cannon hasn't been unnerfed yet. Flash Cannon and Focus Blast don't exactly have like a huge range in between it. I'm guessing like it's just because, you know, Registeel and Flash Cannon is resisted by Rainy Castform. But oddly enough, it's really not that bad. As you see here, like I mentioned before, Mandibuzz can give you an issue. Other than that, you can either choose to, 1, run through your opponent with Diggersby if you play the matchup right, or sack Diggersby and then have Sableye and Registeel sweep. As you see, this team has kind of a medium-high threat score, but it's actually, like, it's not that bad at all, honestly. With a lot of things banned and what's popular out there, Registeel and Sableye are still strong, even if you see like a Machamp lead, just because you can break Machamp's shields, and Machamp will still get really close to dying from either an Earthquake on Diggersby or Registeel's Flash Cannon. So either or will still do heavy damage. One of my biggest fears is seeing a Machamp lead anyways, but as you see, like I mentioned before, Sableye, Registeel, and Diggersby was still very powerful in original Great League Remix, and now it's still this team's actually still really good, or core is really good for Great League Remix 2.0 in Season 8. Next up, we got Diggersby, Cresselia, and Frostless. So this is kind of a double Say Switch. I like double Say Switches. It was on my top 5 teams. But Diggersby and Cresselia, great core put together. My teammate Battle Bill actually had a team before which actually had Diggersby, Cresselia, and I forgot what the backer was, but this team is excessive. Well, Diggersby, Cresselia is a powerful core in Open Great League, and it's actually really pretty dang good in Great League Remix 2.0. This does feature Frostless as well, so the idea of this team is to basically do a ton of damage over time. And with Frostless is still a fantastic Say Switch with shield and energy advantage, it's still going to do a lot of damage like it did in the original Great League Remix. As you see here, this team's incredibly powerful. Pretty much the same stats as the prior one I gave you. Great coverage and consistency, amazing bulk and safety. Even though Frostless is there, Diggersby and Cresselia does make up for the lack of bulk. But despite that, it's still very safe because, like I said, this team does a lot of damage. Going to break your opponent's shields is the name of the game with this team, and even if you do lose the lead, because there's so much pressure on it, even if your opponent tries to like 2-shield their way through, like 2-shield Wiggly strat, you have Frostless with a shield advantage, or you have a Cresselia. So you can decide whichever one you use, and Diggersby is also covered by Cresselia. Frostless doesn't necessarily cover Diggersby in a sense, just because Machamp or counters still do neutral damage. However, Avalanche and Shadow Ball are still very powerful, so if you have Shield or Energy Advantage, Frostless is still as effective in the Great League Remix 2.0 in Season 8 as it was in like the Element Cup, I mean not the Element Cup, the Holiday Cup or the previous Great League Remix. As you see here, this team banks on one thing though, you don't see fire. No, literally. So Charizard is your worst nightmare with this team. The reason being is because Charizard can actually, it walls Cresselia without Future Sight. Yes, you don't resist Psycho Cuts. However, your charge moves, still has a very strong matchup against you because your charge moves are resisted. Same thing with Diggersby. A Charizard is Diggersby's worst nightmare because Fire Punch and Earth, well, essentially unless you're rocking Hyper Beam, Diggersby gets walled by Charizard. And you kind of need Earthquake just because of Diggersby. One, you get stabbed, and two, you are able to take down Registeel. You can make up for it by giving Diggersby Hyper Beam, but I wouldn't recommend it. You could try to sack Diggersby or do as much damage as you can, or you could safe switch to Frostless, break shields, try to take it to the zeros, and hope that you could take out Charizard. But I don't foresee a lot of Charizards being out there. It's one of my secret, like, budget pick weapons, but it's still very strong, and I don't know if it's gonna be out there. But if you, as long as you don't see Charizard in someone's team, you're gonna be just fine. Medium high threat score, and like I said, as long as you don't see Charizard, you're fine. If you lose the lead, you could either safe switch into Cresselia or Frostless. Generally, it's gonna depend on what you see in the lead. As you see here, if you see a Frostless, it might be in your best interest to just safe switch into Cresselia, force the Moonblast debuff, something of that sort, or you could play the mirror and hopefully win the mirror with Frostless. So you have a lot of options with this team just because, like I mentioned, everything does so much damage, and you have a lot of play with straight nuking through shields or trying to force baits, etc. Or you have Cresselia's Moonblast as an extra, like, contingency plan just in case you need to safe switch out. Alright, so this team assumes that for some odd reason, Niantic finally gets their S word together, and they finally unban Pidgeot, because I don't know why this issue is here, why for some odd reason, you know, the move you plan on releasing somehow broke your game, despite the fact that it was running for about 2 weeks long before you actually banned it. Anyways, this is Pidgeot, Diggersby, and Registeel. So Pidgeot has the added advantage of the fact that it has one of the most busted moves in the freaking game. A guaranteed -2 attack in Feather Dance. Combine that with Diggersby, and yes, it takes neutral damage from Machamp, but that don't matter because Gust is super effective, and guess what? -2 for that debuff. We have Pidgeot, we have Diggersby, Safe Switch, and Registeel as a closer. Registeel is one of the most powerful closers. You could probably mistake Registeel with Regice. However, we do need something that does all, like, pretty much, no matter which one you put, it's going to be weak to fighting. So, in a sense, as you see here, we're going to go with the fact that because Diggersby and Pidgeot are both weak to ice, we're going to use Registeel. Because Registeel has Flash Cannon. Flash Cannon will do a ton of damage and nearly pretty much, in most scenarios, KO ice types like Obama Snow or Frostless. So that's why we got Registeel. Plus, you probably already have a Registeel built, because Regice and Regirock, you do need a research one in order to get them. As you see, great coverage, great safety, great consistency, and a lot of bulk. All three of these monsters are very, very bulky. And this team is ridiculously good against a lot of meta picks. The reason why Pidgeot's so good is because you could choose to dip out, debuff your opponent, and then you could farm down with Diggersby and Registeel, or you switch, if Diggersby's your safe switch, because this is a Diggersby video, safe switch to Diggersby, realign to Registeel, and have Pidgeot go to town with Burbs, or you can have Registeel have an advantage, or you could win switch with Diggersby. It's really up to you. Now, the big weakness of this team is Charizard, or fire types in general, but that's pretty okay. Yes, your back row is weak to fire, however, that's what we got Pidgeot for. Pidgeot with Feather Dance and the 2-shield can do a lot against things like Charizard, Blastoise, etc. So this team's really, really solid. Again, when you look at it, results are taken from the 0 and the 1. So in the 2-shield, Pidgeot's very strong against pretty much a lot of these combinations. But again, this assumes that Pidgeot is going to be unbanned. Medium threat score, but a lot of things in this cup are going to have medium threat scores right here. And again, Pidgeot and the 2-shield does a lot of work against the Great League Remix meta. Alright, next up we got Mantine, Diggersby, and Frostless. So this is the second team I got Diggersby as a safe switch. We got Mantine and Frostless. Obviously, Frostless is an incredibly powerful closer, especially with shields. And Mantine's a very interesting mon. So Mantine is able to... So the funny thing is Mantine's a water flying type. Because it's a water flying type, it takes neutral damage from ice type attacks. And it also resists fighting type attacks. So it covers Diggersby and Frostless really well. Now, one of Mantine's biggest things is that Mantine actually walls the unholy heck out of Registeel. Because it resists Focus Blast, it also resists Flash Cannon because of the water typing. Not only that, it's versatile because it has Ice Beam and Bubble Beam. I've practiced with a lot, and I really like Mantine in Elite. So, because Diggersby is weak to fighting types, and ice types, Mantine does have a lot of strength by covering Diggersby weaknesses as well as Frostless's weaknesses. Now, the thing is, you can use Bubble or you can use Wing Attack. I think Wing Attack might be better. I practiced with both, but the thing is, with Wing Attack, it's resisted by Registeel, basically. So with a Trash Can, you're basically going to Bubble Beam it to death while you're Wing Attacking it to death. So either one is fine, but like I said, you might want to you can consider Mantine with Wing Attack or with Bubble. The only thing about Bubble is that, of course, Obama Snow, and yeah, that's pretty much it. But other than that, whatever you decide to do, we got Diggersby as your safe switch and Frostless as your closer. Frostless can also double as a safe switch as well, just in case you like that Frostless safe switch, which is also incredibly powerful. As you see here, this is the only team I recommend making for C for coverage and C for consistency. So as ratings-wise, it's not the greatest one on paper. However, you'll see in a sec. So it's incredibly safe, as you see here. Very safe, and then it has great bulk. But as you go here, the reason why I look at it, do you see all these X's? All these X's and O's like a J. Cole song? No, I'm just kidding. But as you see here, Mantine does give you a lot of opportunities just because it has Bubble Beam and Ice Beam. So Ice Beam and Bubble Beam can break shields, or you can choose to debuff your opponent. Then you can do Frostless you can do the 2-shield Frostless strat, or you can safe switch into Diggersby. It's really up to you. But it's very, very powerful against a lot of meta picks and gives you a lot of play. With literally your only weakness being water types, simply because, well, your only big weakness is literally water types. Water types, as you see here, just because the thing about it is because of Mantine having Bubble. This is why I kind of recommend Wing Attack, but it's really up to you, like I mentioned. But as you see, the only thing you are weak against, like as far as like complete core breaker wise, is literally water types. And that's only because Mantine's Bubble is resisted, basically. So again, you could choose to use Wing Attack. Other than that, even though this team has a high threat score, like I said, the only real reason why is because Mantine has Bubble. So if you change it to Wing Attack, you could choose to do it. In my opinion, Wing Attack, it's like, okay, either one. If not, you don't like it, you could use Bullet Seed. But honestly, do you really want to use a Bullet Seed? Well, I'll let you fire moves out quickly, so Bullet Seed is actually a fair argument. As you see, if you change it to Wing Attack, your ratings do go up, and as you see here, your threat score goes down. Wing Attack is... But again, it's really up to you. It really depends how you look at it. Either way, Mantine's incredibly powerful, and I do think it does. This team's like basically an incredible. It's done really well in practice, honestly. Out of the 50 battles I did with this team, it won like 37 of them, I think. So it's really freaking good. All right, now honestly, I only found 4 really good teams. Diggersby as a lead and a switch. You got it. You could use it as a closer too, but honestly, the lead and switch is all the data you really need. This is an abomination of a team. And no, I don't mean like Obama Snow, because, you know, Obama Snow isn't actually in this team. This is the 2P, actually the 3-piece in a Wigglytuff. So if you like 2-shield strats with Charm, Wigglytuff and Diggersby actually complement each other really well. Just because, you know how Pidgeot and Diggersby work together? Pretty much the same thing. Wigglytuff beats Fighter, so there you go. And also, Wigglytuff 2-shield strat is actually pretty viable in this cup, especially with things like G-Fist being banned. Your biggest thing to watch out for is Registeel. However, I've actually beaten a lot of Registeel just because I've been able to send in Diggersby and Registeel to break shields, and then Wigglytuff is able to 1, charm down, or 2, the Registeel is almost dead, so you could charm down anyways. As you see, this team actually has a ton of bulk, because when you put Registeel and Diggersby together, guess what? You're getting an A for bulk. C for coverage, and it's great for safety and consistency. As you see here, this doesn't reflect the true 2 shield strat because it's the 0 to 1 shield scenario, but you're gonna die convincing against Registeel again, no matter what you do against Wigglytuff. So just keep that in mind. If you do see a Registeel, you will say switch into Diggersby. Try to win switch from there, and then have Registeel break shields, and hopefully Registeel with some chip damage can take out Wigglytuff, can take it out before it gets splash cannon to death. So just keep that in mind. If you see Wigglytuff, if you see a poison or if you see steel, switch to Diggersby and try to win out. Try to play out the match and just win from there. I don't heavily recommend this team, but again, if you like Charm 2 Shield strats, like I said, the 4 teams I put before here are really strong. And if you look at this team is actually pretty dang good. As you see, Wigglytuff is able to 2 Shield its way through pretty much a lot of things. So if you really want to use this strategy, go right ahead. You can choose to 2 Shield your way through with Wigglytuff or sacrifice it, or you got, say, switch Diggersby. Other than that, I already gave you 2 teams with Diggersby in the lead, and 2 teams with Diggersby as a switch. So I have to actually practice with this team for like 20 battles. I won a lot of them, but I don't really recommend it. I mean, if you want to do it, you can, but you know what? 2 shields can work with Diggersby, again, for the pure fact that Wigglytuff does cover that Diggersby's weakness, and this is pretty much like, you know, this is kind of like a pseudo ABB team without actually being like an ABB team, to be honest. And that's GG's. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Again, I gave you 2 teams with Diggersby in the lead and also Diggersby in the switch. The 5th team is kind of, you know, break the glass if you're frustrated, but honestly, there are other teams you can use. But the other 4 teams I gave you are pretty dang good and take really good advantage of Diggersby's bulk as well as its charge move pressure. I really try to put teams together that would effectively work well and have synergy and just cover each other rather than slap something together. And yes, I practiced with all these teams and all of them did have a really good net positive rating, so I like them a lot. The problem with Diggersby, again, is that Diggersby can be prone to be a target, so it's preferred that you have Diggersby with 2 counters. However, there's also a way you could take advantage, like with these teams like I used, to either use debuffs or Diggersby's charge move pressure to really give you that edge in battle. Hopefully you guys enjoy these teams. Hopefully these teams do inspire you to put something together, or these teams do really help you out. Again, I found mostly like a top 4, but the 5th one is there. Wigglytuff with 2 shield strat actually can work well with Diggersby, so I put the 5th one out there, and it did I've actually been able to come back from a lot of Registeel leads, so it's really interesting just how powerful Diggersby, not only using its typing, but the charge move pressure is what really makes Diggersby so good, along with its coverage in Fire Punch and Earthquake. Hopefully these teams do help you out. Again, I did quite a bit of practice with this one. It was very highly requested. You ask, you shall receive, so here you go. Not quite like a Ferris Bueller movie because I didn't break everything, but Diggersby was Diggersby's not game breaking. It doesn't also have a lot of long-term use, but if you already have one built, here you go. Hopefully these teams do give you a leg up. If you guys would do me a huge favor, please like and subscribe. Both things are totally free and helps for my 3K sub goal for the end of the year. You can easily subscribe by moving your mouse to the bottom right, and you see that little box there. By the time you're done listening to the sound of my voice, you can easily subscribe. All you have to do is put your mouse over it, poof, it'll pop up the sub tab, and you can easily subscribe. I do take some time. If you request something for me, I want to make sure it works, so I will go to the trading tab and do a lot of sims before I actually put these teams out. And these teams will do very well and continuously perform. Trust me, I've done it 6 times before, and I've made legend 6 times with / rank 10. I've made it or broken it for 6 straight seasons, and I've only made the seasons I've made legend except for season 7. I've made rank 10 with them, so it's a lot of practice and a lot of work, but I'm more than willing to do it. So again, it's really cool. But good luck on your Go Battle League sets. I hope you guys are doing well, and I'll see you guys on the next video.
Ciao!